Hello everyone, and this is the first of several walkthrough videos working through project number 3. First, the project is due on October 1st. This project says that we need a simple unit converter application that would allow the user to select I have this amount at this unit and I want to convert it to that unit, and then the app will display to the user the result. Challenge yourself by dividing different types of apps and implement a picker component for the user to make that selection. So that's basically what the project reads. Before we start open Xcode and start working on our project, let's think a little bit about what we need to do in here. So the app says that in any app there is what we will call, and I'm sorry about that, well, we would call this is the model. And I fix my writing here. So the app has a view, and the view is basically what the user interface will look like. And then what you put in that view are the user interface components. For instance, we had label, we had buttons, and we had text field where the user can enter text, letters, and numbers, and so on. We also used the sliders before, where the user can use the slider to display or to show, to make a selection of a certain value. We also used a view in order to demonstrate to the user a certain color. An app also has a controller. The controller, that's the class . That's the classes where we wrote the different code to control the behavior. And the controller had properties and had actions or behaviors. And some of these were coming from the library, like the NS string class, for instance. When we use that, the NS slider, and so on. And some of it were coming from the components, which are also coming from the library. We learned that every time we want to, in the controller, to control those components, we have to make a connection between the controller and the properties and the view. And we made this connection with outlets, and we made this connection through actions. Actions when we want to capture the event that the user has created, like the user clicking on the button, so we connect that through an action to a module in the controller. And outlet, that's when we want to control the data, whether we want to read data from a slider, from a text field, or we want to display data on a label or on a view. So every time you put a component on the user interface and you want to control that component, whether by reading its data or giving it data, or by listening to the behavior or the event that takes place on that component, you need to connect it to the controller. The controller then works through modules. So the controller has modules, or we call them also methods. And you can read about that in the reading that's recommended for this module. And the methods can be life cycle methods, meaning that these are automatic methods that are notified or that is called when an event takes place. Like when the view is loaded, automatically the controller is notified that the view is loaded through a call to the module that's called viewDidLoad. Similarly, there is action-based or event-based modules, when the user click on a button and we connected that button through an action connection to a method, says for instance display color, then once the user make the action, the display color module or method is created. We talked a lot about sending messages, and we always send the message to library modules. We send the message to components, and a message is basically, that's where we signal the call to that particular method and module. So we have a view, every app has a view, every app has a controller, and we manage those in project 1 and 2. There is also a third thing, which we will call the model. The model represents the data that the app deals with. And we have not really, we had data, like our first project had the message that the user entered. We had in the second project the color values, that was our data, but we really kept the data in the memory of the components and the controller. We were not concerned about retaining this data. Once you start thinking about retaining this data and modeling it and using it, you start thinking about the model. And the data can be saved in the model in many different ways. You can save it in files, you can save it on servers, you can save it in databases. There are different ways to do that. In this project, we will start to deal, and we will have our first model. And in project number 4 and 5, we will also have models. The model represents the data, where the data is saved, and how you bring the data from the model into the controller, and how you load the data and save the data, load the data and save the data, and make changes to it as they are needed. With the data and the model comes the concept of a collection. Because when you put data in a file, you're putting plenty of data. You bring data in the memory. Memory are separate items, so you don't want to put them in separate items. You want to put them in a collection. And we use the collection in the optional video on project number 2, where we put all the points for the painting in a collection that we called NS Mutable Array, which is a collection that can change with time. There is also NS Array, which we used it briefly in project number 2, which is a static collection as well, static collection of items. For this particular project, the view of this project is that the user needs a way to tell us that they have a certain amount, and that they want this amount is in particular unit. So we want to use a component called the PickerView. PickerView, UI PickerView, UI for user interface. This component gives the user a list to scroll from and displays a title on each on that list, and the user will basically scroll through until they find the unit that they want. So we want to use 2 of those. One to display the from unit, and one to display the to unit. Then we want to give the user something to give us the amount that they want to convert from, and we want to have something to display the resulting value for the user. Then we need to have something where the user can tell us, I am ready, now go ahead and convert. Maybe a button or something that tells the user it's time to convert. There are unlimited ways, as you have seen in a previous video, the overview of the module looking at the store, so many different ways. This is just a way we're going to use in this project. Feel free to innovate and be creative. Use the modules, lay them out the way you want. I would like you to use the PickerView that's required on this project, but you can use it in any way, shape, or form. And the reason is I want you to learn about how to use the PickerView, because there are some new concepts in implementing that. So if we follow this design, we will need a text field, and we have used that before. We will need a button, and we have used that before. We will need a label, and we have used that before. And then we will need 2 PickerViews, and this is the first time we use them. The way the PickerView is designed with the concept of separation of responsibility. What do we mean by this? The PickerView has three parts. It has the user interface, the display, how it will look like, and how it scrolls and stuff like that. Then it has the data. Then it has the event. The display, you can Xcode does a great job by giving us the display by just drag and drop, by saying I need to use this library module, the UI PickerView library module. You already get the display, you don't have to worry about it, and the display is there. It has the wheel that scrolls, and it has the selection, and you don't need to do anything to generate the display, so the display is here. Now, where the data come from? The PickerView is a generic component, so it does not hold the data. It needs to be designed in such a way where it can cooperate with something else, another module or another thing that will have that data. So how, and same for the event. The PickerView has event. The user scrolls, the user makes a selection, and so on. So the PickerView needs to respond to that event. But the PickerView cannot respond because the response will change depending on the app. So the way it is designed so that the display is isolated from the data, isolated from the response to the events of the PickerView. So how can we provide in our application, inform the PickerView that we have the data and pass the data to it, and inform the PickerView that we want to listen to your events and we want to respond to your events? The mechanism implemented for that is called the delegate. We have used this before in project number 1 by becoming a delegate to the UI text field so that we can dismiss the keyboard when the user hit return or hit the done button. That's the same concept here. A delegate is basically our app, one of the modules in our app. This could be the view controller, which is what we are going to use in this case, or it could be something else. Will declare itself a delegate to the PickerView. Once you declare yourself a delegate to the PickerView, you can declare that I am a data delegate, a data source delegate, or I am an event response delegate. A data source meaning that I am implementing the rules and the guidelines of the data source, and I am responsible of providing the PickerView with the data source, and the event will be something similar. In our application, since we have a UI view, we have a screen, and this will have a view controller. The PickerView is going to be housed inside that controller. We have an option to either make another class or another file be the controller or be the data source and the event delegate for the PickerView, or we can decide to have the same controller be both the data source and the event. For simplicity, I am going to use this view controller to be both the data source and the event delegate for the PickerView, for both PickerViews, the one that will have the units from and the one that will have the units to. I do not have to do that. Each one of them can be a separate file. For simplicity, that's what we are going to do here. One more thing that we are also going to use is we have multiple units. So we have units that is feet, if we say length, we have meters, we have miles, we have inches, we have kilometers. All of this are length units. So we're going to use all of them. These are a static collection of units. A static collection meaning that it doesn't change from during the app. When you use the app or I use the app, it's the same set of units the app provides, so that's a static. And it is a collection, it's not one item. This is a separate unit from this, from this, from this, from this. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a file, what we call a property list file, and put those static units in it. It is added in a collection. A collection means it's items that are indexed. So there's item at location 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first one is this, the second is this, the third in this, the fourth in this, and the fifth in this, and you put those in the file like that, and then you load them into memory by providing something very similar to that, which is the I don't know what I did. By providing the array, and the array concept is very similar to what you see. It also has index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we will load those into the NS array object in memory. The difference between the property list is that this is physical on the hard drive or saved on the app disk, and this one is in memory. So when you turn off your device, whatever you put in memory disappears. When you turn off your device, whatever you put in the hard drive does not disappear. So we save it on the file, and when the app loads the file into the memory and keeps it there and keep using it. So these are the things that we are going to follow as we build this app, and in the next video we're going to start doing this. Thank you.